I think it's fair to say that there's been a lot of ups and downs in regard to the New York Mets spring training. More likely, there's been more ups, but there is some real cause for concern with Brandon Nimmo. We're going to get into all of that and a couple more things next on MetCast. What's going on, Met fans? Welcome back to another episode of MetCast. As always, I am Randy. If you're enjoying this content, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. But today is not a good day for the New York Mets. In my own opinion, SNY just came out with an article in regard to the latest on Brandon Nimmo and his sore right knee. Let's give it a look. So we just got this article from Philip Martinez over at SNY titled Mets shut down Brandon Nimmo for a couple of days after gel injections in knee. Still hopeful for opening day. We saw those comments from Carlos Mendoza just a short while ago talking about how they're still hopeful. Nimmo will not do any baseball activities for 48 to 72 hours. And we're just a couple weeks away from actual action. It says Mets manager Carlos Mendoza had an update on Brandon Nimmo prior to Saturday's spring training game, revealed they'll be shutting down the outfielder for a couple days. He goes on to say, Mendoza said that Nimmo took some at-bats yesterday without issue, but when he did some running, he couldn't get past that 85% mark, which is when Nimmo and the organization decided to give the veteran outfielder an injection in his knee. Here's what my concern is. Obviously, everybody knows about the plantar fasciitis. And one thing, if anybody's had a knee injury, a foot injury, or any type of injury in your legs, even non-athletes, you realize you start to walk different. Your gait is different. When you jog, it's different. And it could start impacting other aspects of your body because you naturally try to stay away from the injured body parts. Mendoza went on to say it's a gel injection to help lubricate the joint. No activities for 48 to 72 hours, and will ramp him back up again. The Mets skipper revealed Nimmo will still hit the bags in the weight room while down, but no baseball activities for a few days, and that they will reevaluate him. But when Mendoza was asked about opening day, he said, "We are still all shooting for Nimmo to make it back by then because of how early they are doing this, and that there are still plenty of spring training games left for him to get at bats." For me, this is very concerning. How could it not be? This news comes after Nimmo had an MRI on his knee earlier in the week, which showed no damage, but discomfort Nimmo's felt trying to run 100% flagged them. And that's another thing. Coming back from his plantar fasciitis, we saw that he was running at about 91%, and now it's down to 85%, which I understand it's a different injury, but it's another injury nonetheless. I wouldn't say worried, Mendoza said while asked how worried he was about the recent rash of injuries for Nimmo. Talking to him, he doesn't seem to be too concerned, so we'll see. Opening day for the New York Mets is March 27th in Houston. And although Mendoza and the organization are hopeful Nimmo will get back on the field when they continue to monitor his progress, Mendoza went on to say, once we get closer to opening day and whether he's not running 100%, not getting at bats, and he's not doing baseball activities, then what will probably start to have a conversation about missing opening day, Mendoza said, but that's not the case as we sit here. Nimmo has appeared in just one spring training game, February 28th against the Nationals. In that game, he went 0 for 1 with a walk. And that's the latest update in regard to Brandon Nimmo. It's very cause for concerning, in my opinion. I mean, let's be honest. Nimmo's had an injury history. He's got the plantar fasciitis, and you don't want to see it starting to affect other aspects of his game. And that's one thing that we could all see happening. Let's be honest. I think that's a big reason why we saw them target Teoscar Hernandez in the offseason with that big 2-year contract that they offered him, and also bringing back Jesse Winker, a guy who you could plug and play immediately in left field, give significant at bats as he was doing his entire career with the Reds, and that's where it's going to go. But let me know what your cause for concern is in the comments below. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I will say, man, this lineup to be complete needs Brandon Nimmo in it. I think I read earlier today another article article where they plan on having it being Lindor, Soto, Alonso, most likely Nimmo in the 4-hole, then Vientos, especially against righties, and then maybe flopping them against lefties. That's your 4-hitter. He's supposed to be driving in RBIs, and with him, missing a lot of spring training, I expect him to be behind the 8 ball. I would not be surprised if he ends up starting the year on the IL or getting some rehab starts down in the minor leagues or extended spring training, and then having him come up later on. But enough negativity when it comes to that. I wanted to get to some positive news, and we have this out of Port St. Lucie, a pitcher that has been shining for the New York Mets, and maybe, just maybe, depending on the rash of injuries that the New York Mets have, might be getting that 5th starter role coming out of spring training. Let's give it a look. So we have this over at MSN talking about our boy Max Kranick, who's been dealing throughout spring training. New York's right-handed pitcher Max Kranick has performed very well through his first taste of spring training across 7 innings. Kranick has tossed 7 shutout innings with 4 hits, no walks, and 8 punch-outs, and we see him dialing it up to 96. Given his strong performance, he could become a favorite to land the spot in a bullpen role, which I could see alongside Jose Budo as a long guy. The 27-year-old has not appeared in the Major League contest since 2022 campaign with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Through 43rd and 2/3 innings, Major Leagues, Kranick has held a 5.56 ERA with a 1.65 whip. Last summer, the right-hander logged 63 innings at AAA to a tune of a 3.57 ERA with a 1.22 whip. He tallied 53 punch-outs with 20 free passes. With Sean Reed-Foley recently placed on waivers, AJ Minter hip, and Daniel Nunez elbow in danger of not being ready for opening day, Kranick could become the favorite to make the roster. If he does earn a spot, he will likely have a mid-relief role, and I'm all for that. I like Kranick. I like that he's starting to dial it up later on this, in spring training. He looks very comfortable out there. His fastball looks very lively. It's one thing that people have been telling me down at camp, how lively his fastball is. And he's another bright spot coming out of spring training. Him, Brett Beatty, Luis Angel Acuna, a lot of guys are showing out now. Whether or not that's going to translate to wins or production in season, as we all know, spring training is an absolute fly on the wall or a flyer when it comes to players, because we've seen it time and time again where guys rake in spring training and they have an awful start to the season, or vice versa. We've seen it time and time again. But let me know in the comments where you think Kranick could play a role in this organization, and maybe he's just in AAA, another depth piece that the New York Mets would have, considering the injuries to Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas starting out the year. You never know where he's going to land. But those are all the updates we have for you today. Thanks so much for sticking around. Don't forget to smash that like button, share this show with a friend if you're enjoying it, and as Mets content comes in, I'll be sure to bring it to you just about every single day. As always, let's go Mets. Take care.